hoping that we'll make this session a lot of fun and interesting as much as we can. So, I'm Gurmeet, as you can see on the slide. I am the founder of DAO, which is a consulting firm. You must be wondering what DAO stands for, right? So it's very simple. I help organizations drive daily active users out, which is the most important metrics of any internet company. And so DAO stands for daily active users, weekly active users. On stage, along with me, you can see are two of the best brains in the industry today. Bobby Pawar, who is the MD and Chief Creative Officer of Publicis Worldwide. He's been with JWT, and you name the top firm, and he's kind of headed creative for them. Also, along with him is Vijay Jain. Vijay Jain is again a very, very well-known name on the jewelry side. He is the founding director of Aura Jewelry and also the CEO of Aura. He's led Aura's expansion pan-India, and it's now present in 25 cities. Wonderful. So welcome to both of you. Lucky to be on the panel with you. Before we get into it quickly, let me set the tone. So, what is this entire thing of 6 seconds about? Why? Why 6 seconds? Why not 9? Why not 10? How does 6 look like? So I've just got a couple of warm-up slides to kind of just give you a sense of what it is all about. Okay, this is a known fact which I'm sure all of you would agree. 69% of viewers would kind of want to see a video rather than read text. And 49% of companies which kind of use video have had faster growth. So therefore, do you think it is possible to have a compelling video in 6 seconds? Let's see what people have to say about it. Most of the creative heads feel that simplicity, strong visual elements, and good storytelling are very, very important. That's again a known fact. Let's see how we can do it in 6 seconds. Someone said, think of a creative like a joke. You have to tell it quickly. If you have to tell it in 6 seconds, you have to distill, you have to get to the punchline, build curiosity. So these are pointers which will kind of set the tone for the discussion to come. There are some more sayings I would leave to you to kind of have a quick read. And post this, I'm going to show you some interesting 6 second videos. Have a look, and let's then have a good fun chat around it. Okay, so this is an Airbnb ad.
We went on vacation with a toe dipper and left with a cannonballer.
In 6 seconds. Audio.
Who's your daddy?
This is an interesting ad which talks about self-partner.
Creamy silk meets crunchy Oreo, presenting Cadbury Silk Oreo. Stella Artois. Perfection has its price.
And the last one. This is again the water issue in LA. And one more. So this is to give you a sense of what is the communication possible in 6 seconds. I'd first like to ask Vijay this question. Vijay, you've been heading Aura for a while and done some fantastic work out there. And not only Aura, even if you take the industry as a whole and overall scenario, what do you think are the interesting pointers in terms of whether it's attention spans or advertising? What's been the journey like? Like to come up stage? Yeah.
So I've tried to summarize my learnings in 3 critical points. And the first one really is I think we have to go beyond advertising into story building. And I make this difference of story building versus storytelling. Because storytelling is linear, story building is about large elements coming together by different participants. So, and I think that's a very, very significant shift, especially in today's age and time. When you have social media, you've got Instagram, and you have numerous posts being made. So the consumer is not only a part of the narrative, but is actually helping build those stories. So I think this is one big shift, and therefore anything which we look at has to be looked in this larger, holistic point of view, that it is story building, and storytelling is one component of the entire process. I think Gurmeet, you put the stage on saying how long is long, okay? And I just want to play this video which Aura had created in the year 2004.
Created at the beginning of time, witness to the rise and fall of empire. She's mystery and power, legend and myth. She is Aura. Through the ages she has walked the earth, coveted, desired by commoners and kings. Sculpted, pure, brilliant. Born of the radiance of 1,000 fires. She is timeless. She is Aura.
So the question really is, if you look at this communication, it's about short stories versus long stories, okay? And to me, this is a long story or a novel. But the challenge today is happening is that consumers' time and attention span is shrinking. I think we've got enough data, but I just picked up some data from Aura's own videos, which is online. This is an average which we've done, okay? So on 60 seconds on an average, you had 12% watching the entire communication. And if you go down to 15 seconds, 48% or 1 in 2 people watch the complete ad. The other interesting part is that if you look at 6-second ads, 84% watched till that extent. And the moment you came down to 9 seconds, you had a fall off of 40%. So only 60% watched the ad up to 9 seconds. If you look at the Aura ad, could we have converted that into a 15 or a 20-second ad, which was the traditional way of editing? And would it have actually worked? And my sense is that it really would not have. Because a novel can only be written as a novel. If you try and convert a novel into a short story, it will not work. So I think the challenge at hand is to think of it as a short story. And the moment you think of it as a short story, then you have to be extremely focused in terms of messaging, in terms of what you want to say, how you want to say. And I think from a marketing perspective, is it about recall? Is it about consideration? Is it about awareness? Need to be very, very specifically built in. So one of the hypotheses we have is when you think of short stories or you want to write a short story, please think of it as a short story and not a long story. And we've got multiple ads over the years which we've done, which is 30 seconds, which were converted into 15 seconds, which work brilliantly, and the other way around. And the last point is really homogeneity is dead. I think we all understand that. And homogeneity is dead both from a consumer's perspective as well as from a media perspective. And the moment you make a short ad, okay, the challenge is really is that the fill in the blanks have to be filled in by the consumers. And therefore the communication becomes extremely contextual because your context and my context may be very, very different. So how do you segment the consumers more sharply? How do you make sure that the ad is contextual and the timing is right? And of course, I think there are a huge number of case studies which are available in terms of how people have handled it. And I think the Campbell soup is a great example, where in winter, it was a warm winter in Australia, and soup's sales fell down dramatically, and they created 1,700 ads to target different interest groups, and it was very, very successful. So I think there are enough examples of such things. However, I am not for the moment suggesting that short ads is the only way to go. Because increasingly a consumer is willing to engage with longer communication and is willing to watch the entire ad. And just to close, a short story is a love affair, a novel is a marriage. And I think story building is about the marriage, and every interaction is that short story which you have to win the hearts of your consumers. So that's my
Thanks, Vijay. So let's make it a little interactive. So how many of you have watched Netflix or any of the OTT platforms? Virtually everyone, right? So we all kind of watch Netflix and other platforms, and I've heard so many stories, including my own, where we binge watch, right? Where we kind of see one particular episode and we want to see all of them, all the 6 of them, together. So binge watching is happening, and we're talking about lesser attention spans. So, I'm completely confused. So let's have the creative brain here, the big one out here, Bobby. Tell us more about this. What is this 6 seconds about?
So, you know what? I think we get caught up in the newest shiny thing, right? Every freaking guru talks about, attention spans are decreasing. Yeah, attention spans are decreasing for bad content. But it's content that you watch. You're spending 6 hours at night, right? Depriving yourself of sleep, watching this, right? And you don't mind it one bit. There are kids, right? And adults spending time on trains and buses and airplanes watching content that they really like. So the model of this story is simple. If you want people to watch your content, make it really, really good. That means, you have to go out on a limb and make it really good, especially if you're a brand. Your content, if you're a brand, has to be better than the content that's being put out by entertainers, right? It's harder work. So that's one part of it. The other part of it, I'm going to come down to 6-second videos, right? And everybody says the game has come down to viewership, which is the lowest common denominator. Viewership does not mean engagement, right? You're scrolling down Facebook. It takes 6 seconds for the video, 3 seconds, whatever, for the video to this thing. In 3 seconds, it's counted as viewership, right? So what happens? In 6 seconds, the ad is over. It's counted as a view. A 60-second ad, it's not. If people are scrolling it down. The other thing that happens is in a 6-second ad, most people just put branding. Now what happens is that everybody puts branding. Does that mean that your communication is memorable? It's not. It just becomes a sea of brands that is put out at you. None of it is differentiated, right? So I'm just going to toss it out, my guys. Otherwise, it'll just be me and my monologue, right? More like ranting. I'm sorry.
So what you're saying, Bobby, is that if it is 6 seconds, then avoid too much of branding in that. Focus on the story.
Yeah.
Are there any other, don'ts for, let's say, we have marketers sitting out here? Are there any other don'ts or any other things that one need to do to kind of make an impactful 6-second?
See, start with the heart of your brand, right? What is it in the DNA of the brand that makes it engaging, right? And then what is relevant to the consumer, right? What is the insight that you want to leverage and make that come alive?
So thanks for that. So one more thing that comes to my mind is, if the span has to be so short, technology today allows you to personalize it. So how important is personalization in this entire short attention span, 6 second kind of video kind of thing?
No, I think it's very important, and like Bobby said, is that you have to get the consumer to make it contextual. And I think what happens is that today data allows you to focus it more sharply. So in a category like jewelry, for example, is that we, unlike most of the brands, we own the woman in an entire life cycle from birth to retirement. And during the time, there's this wedding, there's the anniversary, then there's kids' wedding. And just to give you an example is the engagement ring. And what we've discovered is that you can go online and very specifically target people who are in relationships. And if you look at it based on the city's urbanization and a whole bunch of other demographics, this is further split into two segments, which is one is the gold and diamond and one is the platinum buyer. And today we are able to personalize the platinum side very, very specifically with the message. And not only that, I think personalization is no longer limited to online, but also the product. So for example, we have our rings in barcode and Morse code, which says I love you or us together, and which only the two of you can figure out. And our response online has been fabulous with this entire communication. So I'm saying is the consumer. So I think it's today we moved into mass customization. It has to be both from a communication perspective as well as from a product perspective.
I want to build on the context in terms of the content, right? What happens is that it's not just the message, it is also the tone, right? For example, Cadbury's Dairy Milk work is emotional in nature. Now just imagine that you put it in front of something like an AIV video which is totally out there, right, and incredibly funny. Those two things just don't match, right? Or if you take, fast track advertising, which is completely controversial, and put it in front of bhajans, it's completely wrong, right? So you need to match it with content, right, that is relevant to your brand, right? And that's where context comes in, right? The tone of the context should be similar to the tone of your brand, right? Otherwise, it goes wrong, right? Like for example, Dove comes in and puts it its content in terms of like somewhat controversial messaging. It's never going to work. It's actually going to put the brand in trouble, and that actually happened to the brand. I think about a year or so back.
So Vijay spoke about story, building versus storytelling. So Bobby, my question to you is, what is your take, given your experience on that, in today's scenario?
So you know what? I think previously, in a sense, that story was a destination, right? It was put out there, and that was the destination. It's just think of a story as a journey, right? Think of, all of you must have read the story of Hansel and Gretel, right? The age-old fairy tale. What did Hansel do? He left a trail of breadcrumbs, and that's what you need to do with consumers. You need to create a journey where they get to join the dots and make the discoveries for themselves. The problem is that bread better be really, really tasty. Otherwise, they're just going to walk away, right? And that's one of the things. The other thing I think, right? One of the things that people do is everybody's focused on like big data, which is cold hard data, right? There's also such a thing called human data that all of us gather in our everyday lives. I think we need to marry both of them, right? Because you know what? The attention spans over the formats may have gotten shorter, but the principles remain the same of engaging people, right? The, the time has been compressed, but the urgency has increased, but the need to connect with people is still the same.
So just to respond to your previous point in this one, and when you talked about budgets and targeting the wrong audience, and I think one of the fundamental shifts that's really has happened is your ability to target that audience so specifically. So I completely agree with you that it still has to be as hard hitting with the very clear objective. But I think we've been able to specifically target consumers in smaller groups, and I think one big shift which is likely to happen is with OTT. Is when a larger TV content goes onto the OTT platform, and you are able to specifically target audiences. I think for me that is a game changer as a marketer, and I think the synthesis of the two will make a big difference. So I'm completely with you that it has to be emotional, it has to connect, or whatever is your brand proposition. And two is your ability to target it, and therefore the need sometimes is within the same target group to create multiple contents to target it.
Great point.
Yep. So completely, I think I get it. I think the audience also probably gets it in terms of personalization and all. So let's talk about some real stories. So some of you would know that the Aura bridal campaign 2018 has been a huge hit. But would you know that who shot the campaign? It was the CEO himself. So why not ask him? How was it to kind of build a story kind of firsthand? Because I think the entire campaign is like virtually like building a story. So Vijay.
Thanks, Gurmeet. And I think one of my biggest learning in the campaign was that you can learn everything online. So I used to always shoot with natural light, and my entire studio lighting was learned online. So I think that's my biggest learning at a personal point. I think for us, the entire thing was to say is that, normally you talk about same-store growth of 5%, 7%. We took a target this year to say, can we grow 60% on a same-store growth basis? And what we realized that when we are looking at this entire target segment is that you had two different and distinct set of consumers and influencers. One was the bride-to-be and one was the mother-in-law or mother. And what we realized that to target both of them, you had to take very distinctive and clear form strategy. And we really did not split it into online versus offline. I think the entire thing was that how do you reach the target in a format which is more relevant for that consumer. And of course, from a bride-to-be's perspective, we realized that social media, especially Instagram, was very, very useful. So we actually created a 15-second film. We tried to build in some of the issues which you've talked about. We've also tried to build in some of the analytics and data which we could figure out. Influencers became very, very large. So the story about the breadcrumbs is how do you influence that? And for the mothers and mother-in-laws, I think it was a very different approach. And it was both offline, but interestingly, we got huge response from them, even from Facebook. And we were able to measure the interaction. And I have to tell you, versus a 60% target so far, we are running at 100% growth in damage.
That's an amazing point, right? Everybody take down notes on that. One size fits all of food marketing is a bad way to go in today's day and age, right? There are multiple consumers and you need to approach them differently, right? Because what works for one ain't going to work for another set of consumers, right? And that's why you got the growth that you did.
Are there any anecdotes that come to your mind, like because you've got such a rich
You know what? I mean, let's look at. See, when for Christ, you know what? I mean, when you think about 6-second videos, everybody automatically thinks of advertising. You should maybe always limit yourself to that. There is an amazing series, right? On wine, which is 6-second videos. What they did is they showed really interesting looks, glimpses into science, right? What a molecule looks like when it splits, and you've never seen it with your naked eye. And what that allowed PG to do is own science. And that's what they are about. You know, how liquid behaves when it is heated. And it almost looks like art. So if you sometimes look at what your brand is about and create content for it, that's amazing. What if McDonald's does how to make a burger as content, right? It'll blow somebody's mind, right? How do you assemble burger in 6 seconds, right? That's a cool thing, right? How do you chop tomatoes and lettuce in 6 seconds? That's a really cool thing for people to do this thing, right? And so that's another way to look at it.
So, continuing with you. So, Bobby, do you think 6 seconds helps brands to be always on? Or do you believe in the concept of always on?
It depends on, that's a tricky question, isn't it? It depends on the category, okay? You need to understand when your people are on, okay? You can't just be on because you want to be on, right? Let's say you're in the automobiles sector, okay? You need to be on when your consumers are on, right? When they start to look for cars, that's when you push out content to them. Not when they're looking for chewing gum. That's stupid, right? Because the guy's not even thinking about you. Then what you do to him is push out spam. And you begin to alienate your brand, right? You never want to do that. The other thing is, when you want to push out, if you're FMCG brand, maybe you want to be all intermittently on, because if you're always on, you run the risk of putting out the bad content. And let's just imagine today's world, right? You push out bad content, you're going to attract the attention of a few trolls. And let me tell you one thing, the trolls shout louder than your biggest fans, right? And you just get a few trolls after you that can damage your reputation. So you got to be very, very watchful of what you put out there. And a lot of times, what people do, this is the unfortunate thing in marketing, right? Most marketing companies are hiring social media agencies for 2 lakh rupees, who in turn hire bachas out of school, right, for about 10,000 rupees, and I personally see that, okay? They sit in a coffee shop and drink one coffee, 4 of them, for 5 hours. That coffee is gone cold and they're mooching off the free Wi-Fi and putting up stuff. Now, a lot of times, because I'm shamelessly proper, their grammar is atrocious. That's the content. They're the same guys who will comment 40 times, the same marketers, on a piece of copy that goes out in a print ad, for Christ's sake. So the hypocrisy is incredible, and that needs to stop, right? Damn, I spoke too much, right? I'm going to lose a couple of businesses, I think.
So we're running out of time. So what we'll do is we'll just wrap up.
I want to say one more thing, right? I want to ask everybody a question, right? If it's 6 seconds, what is a video? Does anybody have an answer? What do you think is a video in 6 seconds? Anybody?
Any one pointer? Anyone? Any marketers here?
Okay. What else? Is a video a video?
Problem solution?
The thing is, you know what? This entire session has been a con job. Complete. Because a video in 6 seconds cannot be approached as a video. If you saw the example that Gurmeet gave you, okay? The 6-second video is the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest medium in the book. It's a poster. Okay? It's an outdoor billboard. It's a hoarding. Because you know what happens? You drive by a hoarding in 7 seconds. It has to deliver the message in there. What a 6-second video does, it gives the benefit of a moving picture and audio. So the principle of a poster is what? Start with a very striking image, make it move, and have a very simple and direct message. If you follow those principles, you will have a great 60-second video every single time. I guarantee you that. And you do it with me, I'll give you your money back if it doesn't work.
Wow. Any final words, Vijay?
I think just to take his second last point, and I think you're absolutely right that when you are bombarded with communication, when you're not looking for a car, it's wasted. But I think social media today allows you to engage with the consumer. So from our category perspective, is we try and keep the consumer engaged. So when you think of jewelry, Aura would be number one. So I think that to me is really key. And I think it is, like you rightly said, it's about story building, not storytelling. Homogeneity is dead, very clearly. And please, let's start a love affair. Hopefully it'll convert into a marriage, who knows?
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Bobby. So it's great that we were able to call all of you. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. If you want to continue to be conned, you can catch us in the aisle somewhere, and we can continue this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the first speakers. Another very enlightening session.